Welcome to Creator You.
All right, so step number one. Okay, we're going to talk about your podcast setup, and this is really I can't understate. Honestly, this stuff is really not that important. Okay, there's no right or wrong answers here. A lot of this stuff is personal preference. I'm just going to share with you what we did with our podcast. It worked for us, and really, that is one of the most important things I can stress here. Is that for your guys' podcast, the style that you choose and how long your episodes are, there's no magic answer there, and it doesn't really matter, right? You've got Joe Rogan that succeeds with 3-hour podcast episodes. And you have us down here. I mean, literally, we kept 5 minutes we didn't do exactly 5 minutes, you know what I mean? But the bite-sized podcast was exactly what we did. And we stuck with it, right? And it really did work for us. So cool. Let's just talk about your podcast setup, right? Is your podcast going to be interview style? Is it going to be you solo? Is it going to be mixed? The 5-minute marketing podcast was solo. The premise was really, really simple, right? Brian would literally grab his phone, okay, and he would start recording on his 1.5-mile drive to work. Okay, Brian lives very, very close to our Samcart office here outside of Washington, D.C. And so Brian would just record some daily thoughts. And he'd talk about a split test that we ran, or he'd talk about something that was, just sort of top of mind, some big thread that was going on, and he'd weigh in on it or something like that, right? But so we went with solo. We didn't want to chase down interviewees. We didn't want to do that kind of stuff. Although, the interview style thing can be really popular because it's a good way to sort of you bring in and interview people who your audience likes and cares about. And it can be a nice way to sort of lend on their credibility. It can be a good way to reach their audience, right? But we did the solo stuff because it ran on our schedule. We had plenty to talk about, right? And you can always bring in guests eventually, right? So I recommend starting solo. It's just easier to manage. It's easier to keep moving forward, okay? Again, number 2, we had short episodes. All right, so we really stuck with that whole 5-minute moniker. It was never truly like 5 minutes. I mean, I think we were probably averaged like 12 minutes or something, right? But it was unscripted, right? And we just kind of went with it. Recording was so easy. You just pick a topic and start talking, and then you publish, and that's it, right? It was just, we needed something. We really, really needed something that was just going to be that easy, right? We needed something that fit in with our normal calendar schedules, right? We did some audio stuff already, but if the process was more involved and more complex than that, we were going to drop the ball, right? It was at the time when we were launching this, it was mostly me and Brian as our marketing team. We didn't have the resources and the 100+ person team that we do now here at Samcart. So I'm sure now we can do something a little bit more involved, but I encourage you, okay, to keep it in your own lane, okay? Do something that's going to match with your current workload and your current schedule. And then we had really, really, really minimal equipment, right? And I mean, we were really minimal. I cannot stress that enough. It was literally a phone, and I used ScreenFlow, an app that I already had on my computer, which is not for podcasting. We have much better tools than that for that. But let's just walk through the recording workflow, right? Brian would get in the car and he would start recording into a voice memo on his phone, right? So he didn't even use like a cool app. There's so many cool apps now on your phone. We'll talk about some of those things, but he would literally just open up voice memo and hit record. Okay. He literally had a 5-minute commute to work. It was like 1.5 miles or something like that. And then he would upload the folder to Dropbox when he stopped recording, right? I would go into Dropbox, I would edit it in ScreenFlow. And all I would do, right, when I say edit, I want to be very, very clear about what I mean there. All I would do is I would add on some intro music, right? So Brian would start and say, hey, it's Brian from 5-Minute Marketing. And today we're going to talk about, and I would just put a little bit of intro music underneath of that. And we'll talk about some of our spots to go get intro music. You guys can go get some high quality stuff. And then I would tack on our pre-recorded outro. And that's actually really important. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But the outro is really, really important. And so the outro is where you put a call to action, right? That outro was the same every time. We just copy and paste this outro on the end. And so our outro, which I'll play for you guys in a minute here, was basically just the same thing over and over again, right? But it was, anyway, I just paste that on. I basically would paste on intro music, paste on the outro, and export as a PDF, right? Or export as an MP3 rather. And then I would upload to Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is still around today. They're the ones that handle publishing your publishing your podcast to Apple, Spotify, wherever, right? Just upload it to one place and they take care of everything. Really nice and cost effective. They have a free plan. Definitely recommend them. Buzzsprout is a really nice sort of tool for their for uploading it and publishing to those things. And that was it. That was the entire workflow. That was all we ever did. Now we did some other stuff with some other tools to make it cool to share on social media and do some more stuff there, which we'll get to here in a minute. But the really cool part is for number 3 and 4, there are 8,000 more apps for phones and on your computer and all this stuff that do this now. Okay. So, like I say, I edited in ScreenFlow. Like ScreenFlow is a paid app that's not built for podcasting. It's built to record your screen and do the kinds of stuff that we're talking about here right now. Okay. And as for equipment that you will need to get your podcast off the ground, we are going bare minimum. Okay, so number 1, we talked about microphone stuff already, actually, a little bit. And so, the microphone that you choose is not overly important. Okay, you can literally make like I said, our podcast ran off of Brian's iPhone for a very, very, very long time. Okay, if you want to spend a little bit more, this is our recommendation. Okay, our recommendation is this one right here. It's called the Yeti Blue mic. All right, so the brand is called Blue. Just how Blue spells, BLUE. And the model is called Yeti. It is a USB microphone. And here, I'll just make myself full screen here. It's a USB microphone, meaning that this sucker plugs directly into your laptop and can record, you can record at the same time. There's no recording your audio somewhere else and then kind of bringing it in. You know what I mean? It's nice. It goes right to your computer. It is very, very high quality. This thing that I have sitting on top is called a pop filter. Just go to Amazon, look up Blue Yeti. You guys will find it. It's a lot of times I think it's like $100. They have sales down to like 80 if you're paying attention. But this pop filter is just this little piece of foam. There's really nothing to it. I can't really it's super light. There's nothing to it. But it sits on top and it makes sure that all those like hard P's, hard T sounds. This mic right here, this has a pop filter on it. This mic right here is it's called Shure. It's SHURE, Shure M something, whatever. This is like a $300 microphone, $400 microphone compared to this is like a $100 microphone. And honestly, the difference between them is pretty small. This one's very nice. It looks cooler. We got one that looks cooler, whatever. But I'm telling you, I made so much content with this thing, including our podcast, for a very, very, very long time. And we still use these today. Okay. So great microphone. If you're going to spend up, go get the Blue Yeti microphone. But you can also use, I don't know, you can use your phone stuff. You can use, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of cheaper end microphone stuff that you absolutely can still use for a podcast. Just sort of depends on the format that you want, right? Jordan, our video production guy, and I'll bring myself up one more time. Our video production guy that makes all of our videos and our content, everything really, really, really outstanding. Jordan swears that if you're going to spend up a little bit, spend up in audio. You'd rather have nice audio than even nice video, right? And so, yeah, maybe this $100 Blue Yeti microphone, which we'll try to put a link down below. Not an affiliate link or anything. We just have used it. It's great. We'll try to add that in there. For editing, so the tool for editing, we really like Audacity. Okay, Audacity is a free podcast editing tool. You can add in your background music. You can add in your outro. You can do all kinds of stuff there. Again, free app, awesome app. Highly, highly recommend it. You can also use a lot of free things like QuickTime and things like that. But Audacity is sort of made for audio and podcast type stuff. So definitely really recommend it there. Running your podcast a whole lot easier. So we have used Buzzsprout for years. Highly recommend them. Transistor is kind of a newer one. Honestly, if I was starting my podcast right now, I think I'd look at Transistor before Buzzsprout. But they do very, very similar things and they both do them very well. So yeah, quite easy. So we talked a little bit about the normal equipment. This is sort of like our advanced equipment. The microphone over here on the left is the one that I'm talking into right this second, right? So this is what's called an XLR microphone, right? So this guy over here, right, is a USB microphone. Means it plugs directly into your computer. XLR is this cable. It's kind of tough to see. Let me see if I can bring up my XLR is this cable right here. That's this cable. So it's got this big honking kind of connector on it. XLR does not connect to any computer out there, okay? So if you get an XLR microphone, in which, again, I really recommend this one. If you're going to spend up more, if you got the budget for it, the Shure, I don't know what the model is. I'll try to put it down below if I remember. But the Shure, whatever, something on model. This is something like $300. You get this microphone. It's got great tone. It's just nice and easy. It comes with the pop filter thing on it. It's a very, very nice microphone. And then it's got to run. The XLR cable's got to go somewhere. And so you send it into this box, and you can't see mine. I have the same one that I am showing you guys on screen right now is at the corner of my desk, right? So this thing runs to what's called an audio interface. That's number 2 there, right? Audio interface. That's where the XLR cable connects into that box, and it does all of the pre-mixing. Yeah, I'm not like the technical kind of guy. Jordan could explain this a whole lot better than I could. But basically it takes the higher fidelity signal that an XLR cable can carry, right? And then it mixes it and puts it into a format that can feed into your computer. So, if you're doing advanced equipment stuff, get this one. This is called the Focusrite, Scarlett Focusrite USB audio interface is what it's called. Plug that into Google, go find it. Plug it into Amazon, whatever. You'll find it in 2 seconds. I think the interface costs like, I don't know. It's over $100. It's not super cheap. So all in, you're looking at this setup right here is probably close to $500 or $600. And then you kind of got to get like a stand for the microphone. Maybe that's like another, $50, something like that. But if you want advanced equipment, this is professional level. Like I said, I mean, this microphone right here and the one I'm showing you on my screen is literally what Joe Rogan uses for his stuff. Like, this is professional level stuff. But then the audio interface plugs directly into your computer, and then you can choose and say like, cool, if you're recording on QuickTime or you're recording on some, app on your computer, you'll be able to choose this microphone. And because it's connected to your computer, you could, start recording and go right there and have a nice, easy time of it, essentially. But yeah, this is sort of the advanced setup. An XLR microphone, right? That goes to an XLR cable, runs to an audio interface that then USB connects to your computer. So that's sort of the advanced setup. That's more or less what we use now. So before you launch, okay, there's a couple things to go do. Number one is go get some album artwork, right? If you have quick design skills, you can make something like this in Keynote. Podcast artwork is square. You know what I mean? Drag your logo on it, take a picture, make a background color. There's no magic here. You know what I mean? Your album artwork, you're trying to have little amount of text, okay? And something that stands out and shows up very easily. Because when someone is scrolling through the podcast app on their iPhone, there's only like a little bit. You can only see, these images aren't big. You know what I mean? They're kind of these little tiles. So whatever you put on there, don't put fine print on there, right? Just big logos, big faces, things like that. That's always a plus. And if you want to get one made for you, I highly recommend checking out Dribbble, Fiverr, or Upwork. Just finding someone, search podcast album artwork. You probably spend $50 and you get a pretty good one here. Number 2 is to script and record an outro. Okay. And so scripting and recording an outro is very, very specific. It's where you put the call to action, right, for that you want your users to take. If you have your listeners, right, it's not good enough to just give them a podcast. You need to tell them to go do something, right? And so, if this is the timeline of a single episode, what we'll usually do is we'll do a quick intro and just have some music play underneath of it. Then it's like, the middle green bar there is like, that's your episode. Now you're talking and you're giving your content, doing your interview, whatever, right? And then we just copy and paste this little red outro. It's basically the same every time until we have some new call to action that we want to provide. But you record it one time, give a quick script, put the same background music underneath of it, and you just paste it. You go to Audacity, and that's the same thing. You record your podcast episode. Hey, this is Scott. It's awesome. This is what we're going to talk about today. You get to the end, you say, hey guys, thanks so much for listening today. We'll see you in the next one. And then in Audacity, you take that MP3, put it there, add the intro music at the beginning, right? And then your pre-recorded outro, just slap it right on the end. So let me go ahead. I'm going to pause this and I'm going to actually play. I want to play for you guys our podcast outro, right? So we'll paste that in right here. You guys can actually listen to our podcast outro.
If you're looking for an easy way to launch your business online and start making sales, or a simple way to get fast cash out of your already established business, then check out how I'm making $1,729 per day with a simple one-page website. I break it all down over at onepagefunnel.com. That's the number one, pagefunnel.com.
So the goal with your outro is really simple. It should be, hey, if you want to dive deeper, go to this website, right? And you've got to be able to give somebody an easy kind of website. You'll notice in our outro, it's onepagefunnel.com, the number one, pagefunnel.com. We kind of spell it out for them, right? But I'm not saying, hey, go to samcart.com/courses-e-commerce- all this kind of stuff. You try to make something very simple if you can help it, right? And so this is a great example of why you might want to go. You might send someone to one of your Samcart sales pages, right? You might send someone to a webinar registration. You might send somebody to, go check out a demo or fill out a form to talk with you on a live strategy call or something, right? But whatever it is, you want to make sure that that URL is simple, it's short, it's something you can say and have someone understand and have someone go there. Okay. And then, yeah, you record that one time. Ours is about 19 seconds. It doesn't need to be long, right? Your whole idea here is just to tease out what you could go find, right? Hey, I want to show you how you can make $1,729 a day with a simple one-page website. That's interesting. You know what I mean? I'm not giving it all away. I'm not telling everybody what to go get. I'm just sort of teasing their curiosity and then telling them where to go. That's what makes a good outro. That's what makes your podcast effective. That's what's going to drive people back to your offers, your webinars, whatever, right? Super, super powerful there. That is your guys' script to go off of. Okay. So that's what we want you guys to go do. And then the last thing we want you to go do is go search Artlist, you can even search by genre or like the feeling of the music, right? So I want something upbeat and 60 beats a second or 60 beats a minute, right? And so you you can search for that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, you can pay for the Creative Commons rights. You can license one of their songs. Relatively inexpensive. You go find one, you know what I mean? But this is something we use all the time is artlist.com. Really highly recommend them. But that is going to do it for the podcast setup. So you guys have some work to go do, right? You're going to go record a quick outro. You're going to go download Audacity and kind of get familiar with that, right? Go check out, Buzzsprout or whatever. Go get your album artwork made. We'll sum all this stuff up in a document down below. But very, very simple process. Nothing super major here. The setup stuff is something you're going to do one time, and then you just get to start recording your content, right? But in the next video, we're going to dive into the launch strategy, the beef, the meat of what we're here to cover inside of this is how can you launch a new podcast, right, and go from 0 to 10,000 listeners every single month by doing the right things in the right ways and kind of giving the podcast platforms what they're looking for. And so with that, we will see you guys in the next video.